So
There we go.
Okay, good. Thank you for catching that, John. Well, why don't we start? We'll introduce ourselves and then we'll go to you and maybe you can have the room introduce themselves. I'm David Durfee. I'm the chair of this committee, the Committee on Ag, Food Resiliency and Forestry. And I live in Shaftesbury and represent Shaftesbury and Glastonbury and Sunderland. And go around this way.
John Bartholomew, the vice chair, and I'm from Heartland, also represent Windsor and West Windsor.
I'm John O'Brien. I represent my hometown of Tunbridge and Royalton, the same district that Rosa McLaughlin, who had a lot to do with farm to school, representing too.
Greg Bird, from Cabot, representing Cabot, Danville, Peach.
Jed Lipsky represent Lamoille One, so.
thank you. I'm Kayla. I am the Farm to Institution Program Director at the Northeast Organic Farming Association of Vermont, and I'm here on behalf of the Farm to School and Early Childhood Network. Before we get started with my testimony, which will kind of lay the groundwork, would you like us to go around the room and?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Olivia, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure.
Just go around.
My name's Olivia. I'm a high school student at CBU.
Welcome.
My name's Vaughn. I'm also a high school student at CBU.
My name's Magnus. I'm also a high school student at CU.
Meg Faust, Action Circles. I work with Farm to School.
Hi, I'm Beverly Bogat, and I'm with the Vermont Early Childhood Advocacy Alliance, and my kids went to CDU.
I'm Carol Kent, School Nutrition Director currently for Mount Mansfield School District, previously for Lamoille's North School District, where we purchased lots of apples for Draper. And it's great to be here.
I'm Becca Perrin from Northeast Organic Farming Association.
Kelsey Van Barton, Assistant Director of Nutrition in Brattleboro.
Randy George, Red Hen Baking Company, Middlesex.
Carmen Sterling, I'm the School Nutrition Director in Brattleboro, formerly Villas Falls, and proud recipient of the Local Food Incentive Grant every year of the award.
Sarah Webb, I'm here for Children Homes. And then we do, and I own and operate Dumont Farm and Cattle Company down in Chelsea, Vermont.
Tina Zook from the American Heart Association, not part of Farm to School, but big fan.
Ian Rose, the Food Service Director for the Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union.
Windsor Southeast is.
Windsor, Heartland, Weathersfield, and Brownsville.
Okay, fine. Okay, good. Well, thank you, everybody. And why don't we go ahead then? Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and share the impact of farm to school and early childhood programming and what it has to do with Vermonters. So this work supports schools, our farmers, our local food economy, and our communities. And we're here today to ask for level funding of two critical programs in FY27, the Farm to School and Early Childhood Grants Program and the Local Foods Incentive, both at $500,000. Together, these programs connect young people with food systems education, Vermont agriculture, while simultaneously supporting farmers and food producers. So to offer a bit of context, the Vermont Farm to School and Early Childhood Network was created in 2008 in response to a growing movement of schools that wanted to serve local food in their cafeterias while using food and farming as an integrated education tool to support student learning and engagement. So this approach is reflected in our 3Cs model of change: the classroom, cafeteria, and community. And for long-term impact, these three elements must be connected, and it creates a win-win-win for students, farmers, and families. And I've seen the impact of farm to school firsthand. In my role, I work closely with school nutrition programs, a lot of which are in the room today, across the state to increase local food procurement, and while ensuring that these institutional markets also worked for Vermont farmers. And again, school nutrition professionals tell me that the connections they're building with local farmers, bakeries, and food businesses are made possible because of these programs. They are proud to support their neighbors, and kids are growing up understanding what it means to be nourished by their communities. These programs are not just feeding students, they're shaping a generation that values local food, Vermont farmers, and strengthens our rural economy. So Vermont has invested in 3 cornerstone programs that work together to improve student health and learning while benefiting our agricultural economy. So first is the Rosa McLaughlin Farm to School and Early Childhood Grants Program, which was established in 2006 and had served more than 300 schools and early childhood programs in every county of the state. So it provides capacity building and technical assistance to help programs develop and strengthen their farm to school efforts. The second is the Local Foods Incentive Program, which supports increased local purchasing so that more of the approximate 25 million that's spent on food in schools can stay here in Vermont. And over the past decade, local purchasing in schools has grown from 5% to 14% statewide, and more than 150 farms are now sell to schools and early childhood programs. And third is Universal School Meals, which ensures equitable access to meals for every student in every zip code. For many students, school meals provide nearly half of their daily calories, making access to nourishing food essential for health and learning and success. And I also want to note that today is School Nutrition Day in the State House, and many school nutrition professionals are here with us celebrating 5 years of universal school meals. And that's 5 years of ensuring that every student has access to food they need to learn, grow, and thrive. So these 3 programs, the Farm to School Grants Program, the Local Foods Incentive, and Universal School Meals, work together as a virtuous cycle. Universal School Meals and Farm to School increase participation in meals, which improves program revenue, and that revenue allows schools to purchase more local food and prepare more scratch meals, which further increases participation and continues this cycle. So in previous years in this committee, our colleagues at the Agency of Education and the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets have provided reports to this committee about the Local Foods Incentive and the grants program. And while they're not here today, those reports will be ready later this winter, and we'd be happy to come back and share more details of last year's data. But today, you'll get the opportunity to hear directly from students, school nutrition professionals, farmers, and food producers about how these programs are making a difference on the ground. You'll hear the state investment in these programs truly matters. I also want to thank Representative Richard Nelson, who's not in the room right now, but for recognizing us on the House floor this morning and inviting Senator Bobby Starr to join us as well. So I urge you to continue to support. Oh, I just thanked you.
You can repeat that.
It's okay. Thank you to Representative Richard Nelson for recognizing Farm to School and Early Childhood and School Nutrition Day on the House floor this morning. It's truly an honor. So I urge you to continue supporting these efforts of level funding of $500,000 for both the Farm to School and Early Childhood Grants Program and the Local Foods Incentive. As a network, our goal is to reach 30% local purchasing in schools by 2030. And to get there, we must continue investing in these programs that help schools afford, access, and integrate local foods. So thank you so much for your time and for your commitment to strengthening farm to school and early childhood efforts in Vermont. And we're happy to take questions after each speaker, or if you'd like to save them to the end, whichever is your preference.
Does anybody have a question right now? Okay. All right, good.
I'd love to welcome our high school students to start off the testimony. Olivia and Yvonne, do you want to come up? Would you like to come up together? Or...
They can and they can.
Before you go, actually, maybe
yeah.
Just one quick question, Kayla. Can you just give us the quick history of the 5 years of Universal School Meals? Because I know it came out of
Yes.
post-COVID, and it was sort of a pilot for a year or two, and then this committee helped a lot.
Yeah, so Universal School Meals, happened at the federal level during COVID, and then in 2022, I believe. Sorry, I thought somebody was giving me a number. The state of Vermont issued or passed a bill, and maybe one of my other colleagues at Hunger Free Vermont would be better equipped to share which law and bill that was. But so it started off as a federal pilot, and then we initiated it in the state in 2022.
And because it counts all students and captures all the students that would have qualified, it costs us such little amount of money to take care of everybody. And Senator Starr, who started this, they've been doing it at their school in Troy for years before this started, because they were just sick and tired of harassing people for school meal money. And they said, why do we do it? We have the ability to feed everybody, and that's the right thing to do.
yeah, I think it was 2022 when we passed, or maybe 21, the 1-year pilot program, and now we've had, it's been 5 years total.
Yeah.
Because it was that year, there was budget surplus, right? So I think we used some of that money.
Yeah, and then
we passed it, so it's in the budget, right?
yeah, and then when we passed the bill 3 years ago, we used that as a starting point, but we reconfigured some things to make it stronger. And it was with a bill that was actually introduced by 2 members of the House who weren't on the committee. And we did some work on it then to, I think, strengthen it. Yeah. All right, well, good, thank you, Kayla.
Yes, thank you.
So, yeah, Yvonne, do you want to come up, and both of you can come up to the other end there? And I know you already said who you were, but if for the record,
Oh, yes.
you're at the table, if you could just introduce yourself, yeah.
Hello, I'm Olivia Stewart.
I'm Yvonne Meisler. And thank you to everyone in the Senate Education Committee and House Education Committee for allowing us to testify. Again, my name is Yvonne Meisler. I live in Shelburne. I'm a leader of CVU's Farm to School Club with Olivia, as well as a student organizer of the annual Feast, which is Food, Education, and Sustainable Thinking Summit. I speak today on behalf of my communities at Farm to School. Together, we urge you to base fund for the Farm to School and Early Childhood Grant Program and the local food incentive program, each at $500,000. Thanks to this funding, I've had the privilege of meeting so many extraordinary people. I learned lessons I never could have experienced in a classroom, as well as had opportunities to experience Vermont from a completely new perspective. Farm to School has changed my life and shaped my high school experience, and I'm here to implore you to fund these programs so that I can continue to do the same for generations. Being born in New Jersey, I didn't grow up churning butter or milking cows. I entered high school with a similar outlook. Farming was kind of boring to me. It put food on my plate, and that was about it. And I regret to say that outlook was and still is shared by many of my peers. But I do believe that Farm to School programs have the power to change that. I don't know what came over me when I signed up for Farm to School with Olivia that day, freshman year. Maybe we wanted some fresh air or just some time with the goats we have on campus, but it was the single best decision I've ever made in high school. Immediately, we were met with a full-blown operation, greenhouses, garden beds, chickens, goats, and all the tomatoes we could eat. All of this, our coordinator explained, was made possible by state funding. The opportunities felt endless, and we left that day buzzing with ideas and friends we wanted to invite to the club. Fast forward to now, 3.5 years later, so many of our ideas have become reality. Not only do we help to feed our school and raise awareness on where our food comes from, but over the years, we have recruited 30 new members, started our own farm stand, selling summer produce and student art at the Shelburne Farmers Market. We've led workshops at NOFA conferences, hosted school-wide events, and volunteered gleaning on other farms. That's just the tip of the iceberg. More importantly, Farm to School has taught me and so many others the types of valuable life skills that are just as important, if not more than anything I'm learning in calculus. I've learned leadership, how to speak out and communicate effectively on Zoom and in person, how to manage a small business with the responsibilities that accompany doing so, especially when produce can be unpredictable. Problem solving when the goats escape their enclosure at 10 p.m. How to keep kids engaged when teaching them the importance of shopping locally. I learned how to handle bees and what to do when you spill a gallon of honey, and so much more. What's more is that together we have met our goals and expanded on them when that's realistic. And in doing so, I've formed some of my most valuable connections and met some of my best friends. It's given me direction for my future and an excitement for my present. I also have I have big hopes for the future of Farm to School. I believe that what we have here at my school and at so many others across Vermont is really special. And as a state, I think we have a responsibility to keep kindling that spark, because I think it can be fanned into a flame that could spread beyond Vermont and reach other schools and students like me and Olivia across the nation or even globally. Because I think fostering this type of interest and passion is really imperative for youth, especially in today's world. So all that being said, I call on you to support the continued base funding of $500,000 for each of the Vermont Farm to School and Early Education Grant Program and the local food incentive program. Thank you for everyone for allowing me to share, and I'm willing to take questions should you have them.
Thank you. Questions? Representative Bartholomew.
What do you do when you spill a gallon?
So first we kind
Not
of
the rest makes it interesting, I'm just kidding.
no, it was we kind of freaked out a little bit, and then we just kind of like took the paper towels and just scooped them up. Yeah, not what you can do.
Representative Nelson.
Yvonne. It's just like milk, you don't cry over it. Great testimony from you. And I appreciate it. And as a farmer, it makes me feel good when I hear that young people are starting to learn where their food comes from. And it doesn't come from styrofoam and saran wrap at Hannaford or Shaw's. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Representative O'Brien.
Does the school have hives?
Yes, we do. We have a bunch. But we had a encounter with a bear this year, so we had to kind of scale it back a little, but we're trying to get back into it right now.
Electric fencing with high voltage, low impedance.
We get on it.
How many students so there's a club, farm to school club. How many students are participating?
We have about 30 right now, we're very proud of that because we got it from just us two to 30 people. And then we have another club as well that kind of expands off of that, which is slightly smaller.
Well, congratulations on building something.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anything else that you wanted to add?
Well said.
Well, then we'll send you back to the seats on the side. And Ian, are you going to go next?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me to testify today, and thank you for your support of Farm to School and early childhood in Vermont. The record, my name is Ian Rose. I am the Food Service Director for Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union. Our food program serves 4 schools, providing nutritious meals for 1,100 students each day. I am here today to ask that you please support the Farm to School and Early Childhood Program and the local food incentive with a level funding-based appropriation of $500,000 for fiscal year 2027, and also to continue funding universal school meals through the Education Fund. These 2 programs together ensure that all children receive high-quality meals at school and that we are supporting our agricultural families and businesses across the state. I grew up just outside of Boston and have been working in food service for the last 30 years. My family and I moved to Vermont to the Upper Valley 10 years ago, and I've been working in my current role for 2 years. Through my professional journey, I've had the honor to work in a variety of establishments dedicated to showcasing the beauty and benefits of local food. This practice is carried over into my personal life, where prioritizing food items sourced locally has become one of my core values as an individual partner and parent. The mission of our food team is to source products and craft menus that help put our students' minds and bodies in a position to learn and grow as best as possible. In each of our kitchens, we emphasize scratch cooking, minimal processing, unrefined sugars, local meat, and lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. We are always looking for ways to improve the overall quality of our ingredients. Coming into my role as food service director, I wanted to make sure the values of local food, the value which I hold dearly, were not lost amidst the financial challenges and realities of a school meals program. As a parent of 2 school-aged children, I was aware of the Universal Meals Program. I was not aware, however, of the Farm to School and Early Childhood Program and the local food incentive and the benefits they bring to Vermont students. Without these programs, we would not have the resources to provide the local food items which enhance our students' experience each and every day. Currently, I am taking part in the Farm to School Leadership Academy. This program was designed to bring together leaders from all over the country who are committed to transforming food systems in schools. Coming out of our recent gathering, I felt a tremendous amount of gratitude for the policies, systems, and values we have here in Vermont, values which are not universal across the entirety of our country. It is one thing to have farms producing beautiful food all around you. It's a whole different thing having systems in place to help those products find a way into our schools. The Farm to School and Early Childhood Program helps schools to create the structures and build the partnerships we need to be able to bring farm fresh food into our schools and early childhood programs and offer it to students on a daily basis. These programs are the physical demonstration of good policy and practice. I want to share some words which are not my own, but rather those of our parents, staff, and community members. Their connection to the Farm to School and Early Childhood Program exists on a deeply personal level, and they experience the direct impact every day. This is from one of our parents. I'm so grateful that our student supports our local farms and producers. Not only is it important for our local economy, but it instills a value and appreciation in our students for the benefits of locally sourced food, reducing negative impacts on the environment, transparency, and what is used to grow our food, not to mention freshness and a lifelong habit for seasonally based produce. I feel a sense of pride as a community member in this value that our school system upholds, and I can see that same sense of pride come through in the preparation of meals by our incredible food service team. My kids are happy and appreciative of the meals that they get at the school, and I have a peace of mind about what they are receiving. This is something that matters to our economy, our community, our environment, and the lifelong health and habits of our kids. This next comment is from one of our office administrators in Windsor. As someone who sits in clear view of our fresh fruit and veggie station, I can attest that there's a steady stream of students throughout the day of all grade levels coming daily to take advantage of this wonderful program. It is really great to see so many of them get excited about what fresh fruits and veggies we have each day. This is such a valuable program, providing healthy snack options to so many students, some of whom don't have access to these items at home or have never been introduced to them. We are not only providing healthy food options, we are also expanding the variety of food in which students are consuming. Hopefully, these habits will continue at home as students grow and make healthy food choices for themselves. Honestly, there aren't enough positive things I can say about this program. And this last one is also from one of our parents. My son Truman is autistic and non-speaking, and fresh fruits and vegetables are one of the ways he most consistently says yes to the world. For Truman, food is communication and connection. When his school offers fresh local produce every day, he's not on the margins of the lunchroom. He's participating in a shared community practice with food grown in the same Vermont soil we all call home. Supporting Farm to School and Early Childhood and the local foods incentive in fiscal year 2027 is not only good nutrition and good agricultural policy, it's also a quiet daily form of inclusion for students like Truman. Please keep these programs strong. Thank you so much for your time here today and for all the work you do every day to support our families and farmers. Thank you for listening to my testimony and considering the real impacts of the Farm to School and Early Childhood Program and the local foods incentive. Level funding base appropriation of $500,000 for fiscal year 2027, as well as the continuation of the universal school meals through the Education Fund, means that we can continue this important work of nourishing children with foods grown and made right here in their own communities. Be happy to answer any questions and share any information with any of you. Please let me know if there's anything I can do.
Great. Thank you, Ian. Thank you for sharing the stories.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yes, Ian, thank you for that. Are you an independent, or you're not part of what used to be the Abbey Group?
We're not. We became self-op prior to me being there. I believe it's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any communication with those that are in the new group? You know, that not, well, what used to be the Abbey Group, but do you have any communication with other food directors from different SUs that are belong to the?
We do. I mean, Vermont has a pretty good network where a number of folks here sitting with us today. We do, regular monthly sharing circles where we all kind of get a chance to share our strength. We're definitely little if counted individually, but we have an economy of scale that I don't think it gets as fully utilized as it can, but it definitely is active and helpful quite a bit. Yeah, just the perspective alone that, for me personally, that I walk away from those meetings is invaluable. I can tell you, when I reached out to our parents and teachers and community members for feedback, and it was very blanket, I'm coming here to meet. I would love to include your stuff. I cannot tell you how many responses I got. Within like 30 minutes, it was probably 24. Well written, really thoughtful. I mean, I know these things are valuable. Again, I'm a parent and I feel the impact directly. This was one of those ones where, like, It was just like, it was overwhelming. I mean, it really just, and I could not tell them. It was, it warms you when you have that. You have people telling you so passionately how deeply these programs impact them.
Representative Bartholomew.
I remember years ago, I had a professor offer me chocolate covered ants. He pointed out that food is what your parents fed you, and my parents didn't feed me ants. I'm just curious, when you have students who have only really encountered, how do they react to the fresh foods? Is it mixed or universally embraced? How does it work in practice?
A good answer for that is there's a federal program called the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, which we rolled out this year. And it's designed to provide just that, fresh fruit and vegetables for kids in between meals. And we basically set up almost like farm stands, a self-service fridges in our schools. And I mean, the amount of participation that happens with that, the amount of produce that we go through is mind-blowing. And I knew it would be positive. I mean, but I've grown up eating this way for my entire life. I'd like to say that I was working in farm to tables restaurants before that phrase existed. Like, this has been part of my life forever. So I don't need to be told the value of those things, but seeing how many types of heirloom apples kids go through and how many different little veggies that we put out every single day, and how it shifted away from, because they would find their way to the main offices and they would have bags of goldfish and things like that, how that has just changed dramatically. It's been a paradigm shift that they used to go to those processed things and now they're eating whole foods. And that you have kids who just engaging with a whole food is a new thing. And that I'm very happy to see that. I'm also sad that that is a reality, but it's been game changing. And to answer your question, there really hasn't been resistance. It was almost keeping up has been the harder part, more so than convincing them of the value.
Chocolate covered ants though.
No, not yet.
Representative Boswell.
Yeah, so I think you're the only nutrition director that's testifying today, and so I have a question for you. I believe California, and there may be other states, passed legislation to prohibit ultra-processed foods from being part of school menus. And I'm wondering what you think about that, because I actually was thinking about introducing legislation, and my chair said I should talk to some directors. So what do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I think those are the ways in which government is effective for us. I don't mind it when rules are handed down, because then my job is to follow them. It's almost parameters. Like to say, if you put me in a room with walls that are 6 feet wide, it's really easy to make a decision. If they're 100 feet wide, it's going to take me a lot longer.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that force change, because what happens for us is there are more products available that California would not want than ones that we want to have. But when it becomes a law, our vendors and distributors, they have to change. And so then they remove the products that we previously had. So if a kid's like, why can't you get this anymore? It's like, we literally can't. But then ideally they replace those things with things that fall more into the where we want them to be, things that are less processed. I 100% agree with that. It's helpful for us having to answer questions about why we're making these decisions when it's done from up at a certain point, because then we are doing what we're told.
I'm going to send legislation in about that today.
Yeah.
It's not too late to do a short form bill.
Representative Lipsky.
Yeah. Ian, thank you. And you brought up a point, and there's some members of the committee that maybe haven't had the honor and input from Harley Sterling, who, from my recollection, his district and under his leadership had the highest percentage of food consumed in his school of any school district, and Moyle North was quite high as well. And it was in the 32 or 34%. Again, that's 3-year-old testimony. How are you doing in that race to the top? And it was a goal of this committee to see expand the participation and consumption of locally produced food.
Do you mean just percentage of students doing breakfast and lunch?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did. So the last year we were at 25%. which in terms of the LFI fund is the highest mark on that. It was 15 a year before. That was sort of what existed when I got there. Michaela was amazingly helpful with us getting the grant part done. The one takeaway that I had from communicating with my colleagues was that it was challenging to get to that point. I didn't find that to be the case. I think there's creative ways to do it. There's realities, right? We're going to use USDA products because they're given to us. But like Harley and I were talking about, Monday is chicken and egg. Every school you go to, it's because you're starting from scratch. But I might have a processed breaded chicken on there, but the potatoes that you're getting are organic ones from Vermont and or small farm ones from like Massachusetts or something like that. A place where you can go and put your hands in the dirt. That's the balance. It's not exactly a high wire act. It has elements where it's like that. It can be done. And I think you don't have to be driving around getting these things from all these little farms. It doesn't have to be difficult like that. When we have support from you all with rules and legislation that force those changes at that level above us, which would be procurement, which would be our vendors, it makes things easier. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Harley, one of the things he mentioned to me when we first met was, if it's a grilled cheese, I'm calling it a grilled cheese. Like, these are kids. Let's serve them kid food. But like for us, switching from a liquid margarine and a plastic thing to using real butter was like a big deal. And my understanding is you have to do well in order to do good. My first goal was getting us under budget. Prior to me being there, the 5 years since it became self-op, it hadn't been. So that's number one goal. We're going to get there while still purchasing, probably the high water mark of those things. It allows us to make a decision like we're going to use olive oil now and expeller pressed non-GMO canola as our two things. And I'm not going to tell anybody about it. The kid body will know. And that's the stuff that if we're saving money on certain things that we should be spending whatever else we have on. Those are the decisions that make a big difference. Thank you.
Representative O'Brien.
Do certain programs like Junior Iron Chef fall under farm to school?
They sure can. As long as it depends what you're doing. I mean, if it's something where if it's just a class per se, it doesn't lead to like a food product that's going to serve to anybody. The school can appropriate the funding for it and we can execute it. They would have to buy the food product, like the food program couldn't pay for it. But we do have ones where they do a lot of sort of like leadership programs for like our 8th grade students. They have to have a certain number of community service hours as they'll come in and they'll serve food, which is awesome because they're getting a little bit of work under their belt. When you see peers serving peers, it's just a really neat thing that happens there. And they get to have some involvement with those kind of things. I think we can do more than that. That's sort of a next year goal for me personally, just kind of still getting my feet underneath me. But the more kids you can get connected to that, seeing how things go from a giant case on the back door to something on a tray. I've been in this for 30 years. I can't, that value is huge for me. This is a trade that will exist forever and ever and ever. And more kids that, never mind the fact of knowing how food really functions, but getting a sense of how that system works. Hugely valuable.
I'm going to keep us moving here so that we have
thank you.
a chance here. I did just want to say thank you for coming in and to reiterate that when we were working on the Universal School Meals Bill originally 3 years ago, we did. It was very helpful to have the testimony of nutrition directors and school food directors. In fact, we couldn't have done it really, I think, without, because that made the case so much easier to sell to our colleagues. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And Emily.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. My name is Emily Dumont. I live and farm in Chelsea, Vermont, where I own and operate Dumont Farm and Cattle Company. I am a regenerative beef farmer raising grass-fed and grass-finished beef, and I'm also a registered nurse. Prior to farming full-time, I worked for 2 years as a middle school nurse in the First Branch Unified School District. And I was invited to speak today because of my involvement selling locally raised beef directly to Heartland Elementary School. And that relationship exists because of programs like Farm to School and Early Childhood and the local food incentives make it possible for schools to purchase food from local farms like mine. The Farm to School and Early Childhood program is the critical connector between locally raised food and school meal programs. It helps schools build the systems and partnerships needed to bring local food into cafeterias consistently. And it gives farmers the confidence to invest in producing food specifically for schools. The ability to sell beef locally to a school like Heartland Elementary creates real stability for my farm. It allows me to plan production, manage cost, and keep food dollars circulating in the local economy. These programs don't just support farmers, they create reliable, transparent supply chains that benefit schools, students, and the entire communities. The beef I raise is grass-fed and grass-finished, produced using regenerative grazing practices that improve soil health, protects water quality, and build resilience to climate extremes. This is not industrial beef. This is nutrient-dense, responsibly raised protein that reflects values Vermont cares deeply about: land stewardship, animal welfare, and community health. But Farm to School isn't just about where food comes from. It's also about how children feel in their bodies during the school day and whether they are able to fully engage in learning. When schools are supported in serving fresh local food, it directly supports student health, attendance, and educational outcomes. As a school nurse, I observed the impact of food choices from the clinical side, not just the farming side. I saw a clear correlation between what students ate and how they felt afterward, their energy, focus, and mood, and overall ability to learn. This was especially evident in students living with type 1 diabetes, whose blood glucose levels I monitored throughout the school day. Despite experiencing extreme lows, students did not want to leave the classroom. They wanted to stay with their peers and keep learning. In those moments, you could often find me standing outside the classroom doors, gripping emergency medications in my hand, ready to help stabilize a blood sugar level when the body could not do so quickly enough with food alone. I also work with students whose blood sugars were highly labile, quick highs followed by quick downs or rapid swings throughout the day. When that happens, learning becomes incredibly difficult. Students may be sitting at their desk, but their bodies are working hard just to be stable. When blood sugars could not be regulated with nutrients on board, I had to intervene so they could safely return to learning. Each of those moments meant lost instructional time, time spent in the nurse's office, lessons interrupted, assessments missed, or students physically present but not truly available for learning because they were symptomatic, distracted, fatigued, or unwell. Over time, those losses add up. What I saw again and again was that stable, well-balanced meals, particularly meals that included quality protein, supported more stable blood sugars. That stability meant fewer interruptions, fewer emergencies, and more time where students could simply be students and focus on learning. The stability matters medically, academically, and emotionally. Programs like Farm to School and Early Childhood and local food incentive strengthen Vermont's local food system, create stable markets for farmers, and ensure that children have access to real, nourishing food. As we're facing increasing uncertainty from climate challenges to rising cost, these programs provide stability for both schools and farms. They are smart, preventative investments in health, education, and local economies. Given the tremendous benefit to Vermont schools, students, and farmers, I respectfully ask that you support the Farm to School and Early Childhood program with level funding at a base appropriation of $500,000 for fiscal year 27, and also support the local food incentive program with a level funding base appropriation of $500,000 for fiscal year 27. Thank you for your time and your continued support of Vermont's children, farmers, and communities.
Thank you, Emily. For taking any questions, Representative Bosland, I just had a message asking if you would come down to the Appropriations Committee.
Oh, good Lord.
Shame be to you.
At 60.
About the climate. bill?
At 60.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Sorry, I couldn't hear from the door.
Let's see if the committee has any questions before we let you go.
I just have one.
Representative Burt.
What breed of cattle?
I started off with an Angus base and I switched to Murray Grey because I can produce an animal grass-fed in 10 months sooner to my ideal weight. So I can produce an animal in 20 months now instead of 30. So better for the climate and it's a more consistent product and tender too.
I know First Branch had got some chickens,
Yeah.
which was, I thought, great and somewhat unusual. I wondered if maybe you or people in this room knew, how many schools in Vermont actually grow some food, whether it's bees or chickens or school gardens.
I don't have that information. I know during my time at the school, there was definitely programs that came in to help sort of start those programs within the school. And the principal, Janet Cash, had, I think, been working towards that. So I don't have the numbers, but I know it's something that school district is ideally working towards.
We actually have a statistic that we got in our evaluation last year that 81% of Vermont schools have educational gardens. Yes.
Have gardens. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
And then I think we're gonna, well, maybe not close things up, but Randy, if you want to join us next.
Thank you. I'm Randy George from Red Hen Baking Company. As I mentioned earlier, my wife and I started our business in 1999, 5 miles up the road here. And I appreciate this opportunity. We're here, of course, to ask you for your support for level funding of 2 critical programs in fiscal year 2027, Farm to School and Early Childhood Grants Program and the Local Foods Incentive, both at $500,000. One of the unexpected joys of running our business over the last 20 years, which is about how long we've been selling bread to our local schools, has been the opportunity to bake bread for these schools. We see this work as much more than just selling bread to another customer. The rest of our customers are stores and restaurants throughout Vermont. We all know how important good nutrition is to learning because good food feeds the mind as well as the body, as previous speaker explained. But what has been most inspiring to me are the ways in which Vermont's farm to school, the Vermont Farm to School mission extends well beyond simply getting local food into the food service programs at schools throughout the state. Farm to School views their work as integral to the education that our schools offer. I have observed the transformations that can happen when students of all ages learn about where their food comes from. Frankly, issues relating to food and agriculture can be explored through the lens of any academic subject. For many students who attend schools where Farm to School has been present from elementary through high school, an interest in food has become central to their high school experience and beyond. We're now seeing the effect of having a whole generation of students who've grown up with a better understanding of where their food comes from. Many of these young people will be going on to work in food-related work. To borrow a phrase from Wendell Berry, all of them, no matter what their career path, will forever view eating as an agricultural act. So we're proud that at Red Hen for nearly 2 decades, a few hundred servings of our special school bread that we developed particularly for schools when the Obama administration created rules around grains specifically in schools. That bread has been is a weekly feature of the menu at Harwood, our local schools, at the Harwood School District in general, including the high school and the elementary schools. So not only does this round out a great meal, but the students learn that more than half of the wheat in this bread was actually grown in Vermont. So we have the opportunity to explain to kids of all ages what it takes to grow wheat in this state and how that wheat makes it from the farmer's field to the bread that their sandwich is made on. This year, we look forward to expanding our offerings of school bread. Through a grant that Farm to School received, we will be purchasing new equipment that will allow us to make more varieties of bread specifically formulated for school food service. This was developed, we identified the need through a survey that Kayla and her team put together, and spoke to many different food service directors and found that there's even more interest than we're able to, more demand than we're currently able to satisfy for local bread. So through this kind of support, as well as the continual funding at the state level, Vermont will continue to lead the way in educating our future generations of eaters. Thank you.
How many school accounts do you have?
We have the Harwood District and all the associated schools. And then we also work with Montpelier and U32.
And you just said that there's greater demand than you could satisfy.
Yeah, it's partly different products, and it's also that some of the school food service directors that were surveyed had interest in things that we can't currently offer just because of equipment limitations.
Reverend Lipsky.
Yeah, Randy, thank you. I get more education in 2 decades of nutrition when I go into your store down. And particularly on the grains, when every label lets you know what farm or what county up in Danville or wherever these grains came.
Great.
But my question really has to do with, there are rumors out there that Red Hen may be closing that public space.
Oh, we're not going to close the public space. No, part of the grant works for us because we are working on moving to a larger location that will allow us the space to have the equipment that the grant is funding. So, and we'll still have a cafe. We'll just be, once it all gets done, which will be close to the better part of this year, I think we'll
still be able to.
You can still go in and learn about grains and all that. Yes.
When you started to ask the question, I started to panic, but then I did read something. Are you moving next door possibly, or?
It's almost next door. It's half a mile. Yeah.
Half mile.
Yeah. But I have to say, it was amazing what she was your predecessor, Lauren, I guess. Right? Yeah. Lauren, who was in the position that Kayla's in now, approached me because of this grant opportunity, and the timing happened to be right because of this move that we're making. But when does that ever happen? But that somebody says, I think there's some money that we can make available for this.
Other questions? Representative O'Brien.
What are some of the farms where you get your grains from?
The Vermont farms that we get, that we work with, it's one now, had been another farm in Greensboro growing rye, but he's no longer doing it. That was Todd Hardy. And Joe Hescock from Elysian Fields, he's a dairy farm, and he's in Shoreham. And when we bought for many years from Ben Gleason, who's since retired, bought wheat from him, he, as his business developed, he started buying from Joe, who works grains nicely into his rotation as he's primarily a dairy farm, but he really enjoys growing grains. He likes what it does for his crop rotations, feeds some of it to his cows, but really likes growing it for human consumption as well. So currently that's the one Vermont farm that we are buying grain from, and the other ones that we work with, and really almost like only a very small fraction of our grain is bought from anyone other than the 3 different sources that we work with. The first one being Joe Hescock, and then one in New York and one in Quebec.
So you can grow wheat around here?
You can grow wheat around here, and that's one of the other really wonderful things that I never would have expected we'd learn about in opening a bakery in Vermont, is that there's a lot of interest in that, and I've had the opportunity to work a lot with Dr. Heather Darby from UVM Extension, and she's done a ton of research into growing grains. Jack Laser and Heather started the Northern Grain Growers Collaborative, which I'm involved with. So yeah, that's something that's really been an important part of our whole journey. And to be able to introduce that to the schools is really exciting. We've had school groups come through many times. And you know, this isn't just because people are out of touch with their food, but in Vermont, it's pretty unusual to even know what wheat looks like. So to show them that, and we have a mill that we use at the bakery specifically for that whole wheat that goes into the school bread, so we can show them how that process works.
Great.
Field
Well,
trip for us, right?
Yes, yes, you're welcome. You're welcome to come.
Warm bread and butter. You thinking that's bad, Denny?
At some of the schools, you don't get it, right?
We'll work on that.
Okay.
Your support. Thank you.
well, thank you for your testimony and for the reassurance that the business is not going anywhere, or at least not far.
Yeah.
And I think, unless you had anything to wrap up with, Kayla?
I don't have anything formal to wrap up with, but I'd love to have Carol maybe come up and.
Oh, yes, Carol,
her
yeah.
offerings.
Yeah, sorry.
We close out that way.
Yeah.
Yes, you can't talk spring nutrition without bringing snacks. So, little story goes along with this. We have a farmer, Tucker Andrews. He had a farm, Bone Mountain Farm in West Bolton. And I'm gonna hand these out all the top. There's some time these are from muffins.
Yeah, thank you.
Tucker's farm was completely wiped out by the flooding. It became beachfront property. He's still waiting to get back into his home with his family. But in the meantime,
You want to get behind me here?
I'm just gonna ask everyone else.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Tucker partnered with another farm in Jericho, the farm upstream. And they've been growing squash and pumpkins. We purchased squash from that farm. And interestingly, Tucker, did you carefully? I'm sure. Tucker grows long pie pumpkins for the seed for High Moline Seed Company. When they harvest the seeds from these pumpkins, they would ordinarily compost pumpkins, rest of the pumpkins. Muffins? No. Such a free pressure. So we partnered with Tucker and Bone Mountain Farm with these pumpkins. And last year we began, and this year we continued. And we got a group together of volunteers, and we took the pumpkin shells that had been seeded and we processed them. So we were able to put up 300 pounds of pumpkin mash in our freezers for all of our schools to use throughout the year. And it's just another demonstration of how these partnerships with our farmers can lead us in different directions. We partner with Salvation Farms up in Hardwick, who are taking gleaned and surplus produce from farms, and they're processing it into a frozen form for schools and institutions to use. And so just recently, we received our first delivery of corn on the cob, Vermont corn on the cob frozen, and also shredded zucchini frozen. That's grown and raised in Vermont. It was surplus. And those are items we're going to be testing and using in our schools. And we're purchasing this. We're paying a fair price for these products that are surplus. So they're buying it from the farmers. We're buying it from them. So there's a lot of different opportunities available to schools. And I hope you enjoy your muffins, a little token of fresh from the farm.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for sharing that little story about the pumpkin seed too.